Welcome back to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I am, as always, Chat Show. How the hell are you? I'm going to read some of your fan mails today, just 2. Don't get excited. Also, I don't want the guest's eyes to roll up into his head. Oh, geez. Fan mail. But please write to us at kpcsfanmail@gmail.com. We're coming to you live from the Earwolf Studios in Hollywood, California. It's on Sunset Boulevard. Please come on up, knock on the door, and walk right in and tell them I sent you. Say hello. It's unbelievable how little security is actually here. I'm just going to say that once.
You have to get past the valet.
You do have to get past 2 very sophisticated valet parking attendants who take no shit. So don't sling it. Sammy and Jamie are not here, and I will speak to that because we're receiving more and more emails. The show will be 10 years old in March, and for the first 9+ years, it was live streaming video originally, and then just recorded video, knowing that it was still streaming live and 11 people were watching, all of which were yelling at Jamie in the chat room. You're an idiot. Was a lot of fun for her. So thanks to all of you out there who contributed to that. So we're coming to you from Earwolf with an audio-only show, and the emails are pouring in saying, what is your fucking problem? Yeah, sorry for the no video, but this is how podcasts are done, so leave me alone. Why I killed myself for 9.5 years to have a camera crew, of which I paid a stipend to each, and a makeup artist. Hell, we brought food. I mean, for 9.5 years, this was a classy operation. Not so much. But I do want to thank Earwolf for having us, and thank Sammy and Jamie for staying the hell away. For those of you who give a good goddamn about the marvelous Mrs. Maisel, I attended a guild screening of the first 2 episodes in a movie theater with an audience, and it was kind of amazing to see it that way. Television is very personal, and you rarely get to see television with an audience, and it was great to hear them hang on every word and laugh when they're supposed to, and go "aw" as a group of strangers who had not attended a rehearsal. By the way, that's always the thing that amazes me about a live audience. They've never worked this well together, wherever, and to see it and hear it was astonishing. The show, season 2 of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, drops on December 5th, 2018. This goes right into archives. You could be listening to this in the future, wondering, whatever happened to that show? So let's get to your fan mail. Oh, the other wonderful show on Amazon that I scream about all the time called Patriot, season 2 dropped this past weekend. It is, and I watched all 10 episodes, 10? 8. I watched the whole season in 2 days. It is astonishing with all the expectations of a season 2 to deliver that well. It is the greatest show that not enough people are talking about, so please check out Patriot, of which I have no affiliation, other than as a fan. From Steve, this fan mail comes, I just found your show, Kevin. Steve, what is your fucking problem? You just found it? As I mentioned, we'll be 10 in March. But okay, let's get back to your mail. Been a big fan since I first saw a TV special a couple of decades ago where you did the Star Trek thing. Steve, the use of the word thing there, little dismissive. I'm going to need more from you next time. Back to your letter. You impersonated Dudley Moore, among others. Well, you've listed your favorite. Appreciate that. It was then we noticed not only your terrific impersonations, man, a little ass-kissy now. Wait, we go on in parentheses, your Walken is priceless, especially the Halloween one. Are these qualifiers for me to take more faith in who you are as a fan? I mean, thank you. Noticed your terrific impersonation, but your razor wit. I feel like something's coming, Steve. But I take exception. Here we are. We've arrived at it, Sammy. But I take exception, Steve goes on, about your saying the Arnold, and he spells it to be pronounced Arnold, movie End of Days was bad. For a fantasy about the devil, whom I don't believe in, another great qualifier, Steve, thank you, it was pretty darn good. And I've seen most of your movies, too. So glad to know you have a podcast. Steve Fonstalk. because that's a name. Steve. Yeah, I've said End of Days was crap on occasion. It's just not my cup of tea. Why did I say yes? Well, the agent called and said, how would you like to be third on the call sheet of a $100 million Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? Gabriel Byrne is second on the call sheet. And I thought, ooh, so all the pressure's off me. I get to just enjoy the circus. And I did it, and I'm happy I did it, so that you, Steve Fonstock, could in fact take stock. On to letter 2. K. Kevin, just wanted to thank you for going on about Amazon's Patriot. You made it sound interesting, but, and these are all caps, holy shit, what an amazing show. So much character development, comedy, outstanding dialogue, and plenty of small hidden sight gags to catch. In parentheses, Twizzler wrapper in the garbage, in the hotel garbage. Look at you, David Keaton. Wife and I watched the whole season in a matter of days. So nice to have a show that lets you think rather than just having characters spout exposition at each other. In parentheses, Walking Dead, I'm looking at you. Wow. Way to call them on the carpet there, David. Big fans of this show, all the cast and creators, so they heard you. Recommending the show to everyone that will listen. Keep it up. We need to make sure this continues beyond season 2. P.S. Fuck the Dodgers. Signed, David Keaton. I've been tweeting fuck the Dodgers. It was nice of the LA Dodgers to suit up for the World Series, wasn't it? To put the uniforms on. I was proud of them. And then to need 18 innings to win one game. And then by inning 11, the stadium is half filled. Oh, man, just the greatest franchise ever. I've digressed. Let's get to our guest, please. My guest today is mostly famous to the television viewing audience as the much-loved but put-upon character Toby from the extraordinarily successful show The Office on the NBC network. Please welcome cinema's newest favorite writer-director, filmmaker. Now, Paul, we've not met before, and I'm not going to assume I know how to pronounce Lieberstein because it's L-I-E, which makes me feel Lieberstein, but that's never been a name.
Lieberstein or Lieberstein, depending on who you ask in my family.
Okay, and what side of that do you fall on?
I like Steen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a simple, nice, Lieberstein.
Also reminds you of Frankenstein.
Yes.
Right? The first time you saw that Gene Wilder performance, what did you think?
That's one of my favorite movies ever.
Right?
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had you heard, I only got this from the DVD special features of Mel Brooks looking back quite recently on a re-release copy, talking about the movie in his now late 80s, 90s. I did not know that it was completely not his idea to do this movie, that he was approached by this brilliant man, the star of the film.
I didn't know that.
And that he also, Gene Wilder, wrote the movie.
I didn't know that either.
And to hear Mel say, yeah, he told me this idea. I gave him some notes about what to do with it. He went off and wrote it. I'd give him some notes. So they put my name on it. He was fine with that. I didn't feel bad. I contributed, but gave all this credit to Gene Wilder.
Wow.
For having the initial idea of a version, a new telling of the story. That movie is a clinic, I think.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
For comedy.
Abby Normal.
Abby Normal.
One of the best.
Yeah.
And then I love Roll in the Hay.
Rollin' Z Hay.
Rollin' Z Hay.
Yeah. Yeah, Terry Garr, another. Almost every performer in the film also putting on a clinic.
Yeah.
To Cloris Leachman. We're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't get better, yeah.
What
that's something I gotta remember when making movies, that you just make an amazing part for an amazing performer, and it's not as simple as that, obviously, but if you don't do that, it's like an anchor on the movie. Yes.
Well, I found as an actor working with a few wildly talented writer-directors doing both, my first outing with Barry Levinson on the great Jew film Avalon. Great writing and then great casting. if you can cast it up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To lift your ideas way further.
It's true. It's true. I mean, there's so many times where we didn't know that something was going to be funny.
Right. Right.
A performer can just do that much. And I found it's really interesting with I'm sure you've had the experience of putting like a drama actor in a comedy role thinking, oh, they're just going to be perfect. I love what they do. Their little things. But take after take, they find the drama in there.
Yeah.
They're not looking for the comedy. It's
Right.
just not a process of trying to squeeze that out.
Right. Right. And you like that. Yeah, right? not always.
Well, sometimes I write something and I think this is funny. And then
But don't you feel
I do love working with the drama actor.
don't you feel if you play the reality of the scene, which you can call drama,
Yeah.
as opposed to leaning into the comedy,
Yes.
then the words as written are going to be even more truthful. The thing about the performance
Definitely, but it's just like when you do when you're performing in your comedy role, right? You're looking for truth,
Yes.
but you're also looking
Where's
for
the button?
comedy. And
Where's the button?
And you want to find that marriage, right?
Well, yeah.
But some people are not looking for that marriage. They're looking for a different marriage.
Just the drama.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen.
But I loved putting drama people with Steve Carell.
Uh-huh.
That was one of my favorite things to do, was just bring in Idris Elba, bring in
Yes.
Kathy Bates.
Right.
It was just the stronger the dramatic performance, the funnier it would just get with him. He is just unbelievable.
You mean they would lift his comedic?
They would lift him up. Yeah.
And do you think he felt challenged by their dramatic
Yes.
abilities?
He loved a challenge. Sometimes, there would be days where he would just keep a scene going till somebody broke.
Oh, wow.
Or one-on-one scene, he would just keep it going.
He would improvise beyond the end of the scene.
Yes, if you're not,
And
or in the middle of the scene. I think it did not take long for the actors to learn that once the last scripted line is done, nothing's going to make it in.
Whoa. But he would derail, you're saying.
Oh, in the middle. But I wouldn't call it derailing.
It may have a negative connotation, the word, but in this context, no.
Yeah.
It has a very positive connotation.
Yeah.
In the right hands, that derailment is lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that because I am fascinated by a writer who becomes an actor, quite frankly, and it feeds into the conversation about your new motion picture. But I really want to talk firstly about the journey to get your film made, your script. So first, I don't want to mess this up. The film is called Song of Back and Neck.
That's it.
And the initial impression for me, the viewer, since you are also starring in the film and you wrote it, that you must have at one point in your life faced a back ailment. Now, if that might speak to your high level of acting, as well as your wonderful abilities in writing and directing.
Right.
So,
to create out of nowhere.
So maybe the best answer for you, if I may
no idea what
give
you're
you a
talking
little
about.
punch-up for the next interview, is to keep a straight face and say, I never did suffer from, but I thought it would be an interesting jumping off point.
No. I absolutely did suffer from like 15 years of just debilitating back pain. But it wasn't every day. And it was, in hindsight, nothing could have been more obvious than this is psychological. There were days when I would like get notes on a script and not be able to get up out of a chair.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
And was it the Sarno book?
Yep.
that ultimately
Sarno book that cured me.
Changed your life? Yeah. So, yeah. There are a great many believers in a insanely best-selling book by this Dr. Sarno fella that has helped millions accept, embrace, and realize and benefit from that most back pain. Is that safe to say?
It's I would think
Most back pain.
Yeah.
Is
He was a surgeon who was seeing he was operating on people and they were coming back 3 years later, 5 years later with pain in a different part of their back or neck.
And it's stress related.
It's not. It's
Emotionally connected.
Yes, emotionally connected.
Right.
So
what
doctors
made
hate
you
'em.
decide to write a movie that is the central character suffers horribly, and in fact, suggested in the title of the film that the central ailment.
Yeah. So, so there's one thing about movies are great for a character in transition. That's, that's a nice.
Let's go on a journey.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, that, realizing that something was psychological and dealing with that's a journey. But there's this other part that's tied to it, which was it's about anger and the suppression of anger and the moment it happens. And I am just one. So I was babysitting my nieces and nephew when they were young,
and
they were giving me so much crap, and the report back I heard from my sister was, it takes a lot to push his buttons. And I didn't realize how hard they were working on it. But in any case, I'm like one who will not show anger. Like I just won't do it. And part of that was also very conscious. Don't like it. Don't
enjoy the feeling.
Don't enjoy the feeling of expressing it, and don't enjoy the feeling of somebody expressing it around me.
Made you uncomfortable.
Yeah. And then I had to. So it wasn't just that transition of like, oh, my pain is wrong. It was like realizing, oh, I'm wrong about anger. That's wrong. I should, this whole philosophy I've had about how to like
realization
be a person. Yes.
And when did that happen? That realization?
It happened. It was with the book. It was about 2010.
Okay.
Where
and did they suggest in the book that you trace the origin story?
Oh, no, they don't.
Because Psychology 101, from just listening to what you said, would suggest for someone who doesn't like to be around anger, maybe the folks fought a little when you were young.
There was definitely some anger there. There definitely was. But you know what? I got a sister and I got a brother, and they're not like that.
They weren't listening. You were the sensitive one.
I feel like there's just this is who we are. There's a personality there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you read the book in 2010. It's life-changing right away, or that still takes some time?
No, right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a denial process, I'm sure, you got to break through.
Yeah, I mean, the other part of it is I had to like rethink so many things because, I mean, I was the last guy to anything that smelled of mind, body, or holistic or anything. Fuck that. No way. It's just
Hocus
crap.
pocus.
I want something from a giant pharmaceutical company. I won't even trust like a generic pharmaceutical.
Wow.
I want the original. I want to see the test.
You're who they count
that's
on.
all yes, they were counting on me for a long time. And I had to and I was on a ton of drugs, and I got rid of them all.
To combat your back pain.
Not just to combat, but like just all this. I would take so many antihistamines or different kinds of anything.
You were a perfect candidate as long as it wasn't generic.
For whatever
it could help you. Yeah. Well, they do make you feel that way at some point. It's all going to be better if you just take this pill.
Yeah.
What do you? Why wouldn't you take the pill?
Easy to get on board.
Yeah. So you were on board and you had back pain, but the transition to I'm going to write about this. Not only not to steer folks in the wrong direction. What I love about the film, one of the many things I love about the film, is, as you mentioned, we the moviegoer, the film buffs, the audience, do like a transitional story, take me on your journey. The back pain that your character suffers from in the opening credit role is so great and so instant. Talk about a lack of need for a verbal exposition. It's all right there.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. And we know in 2 minutes, certainly that there's a very serious physical ailment. We don't know what the journey is going to be, but it establishes it great as that physical ailment. And even that's universal. Not everyone's had to crawl on the ground and eat cereal while lying down,
Right.
but which I need to know.
No, I've never done that.
Well, I need to know from writing that in the script to talking with your cinematographer and camera operator, how to best execute that moment as written in the script. He's lying on his back and he's eating cereal. But the way you chose to shoot that moment was not only the best way, in my opinion, but it was the best way because it was the most painful to watch and therefore instantly hilarious. You know, I can empathize with the character, but I'm being asked to find this funny. I'm not being asked. I'm not being asked to cry.
Yeah. Just some pain. You gotta get through your
But
life.
the way he's chose to get up out of bed, as it were, and also the first moment of, I think, is it later? Is it later in the movie? I know it is later in the movie when you say, "Oh, not now," when the back pain comes.
Yeah.
But are there words in the opening? Or is it all? It's wordless. Great. That was my memory, which is already diminishing from the experience because that's how old I am. So, talk to me. You know what? If you don't mind, let's go a little bit through the steps.
Yeah.
Because I really am
like
fascinated.
shooting that sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I really wanted to get to the mundaneness of having some back pain. And it's just like, there's a guy on the floor. You have to go to the floor. But what then? Well, then you still have to do everything.
How do you get to work? You got to get to work.
Yeah. So, so there was some crawling. You know, it constantly evolved how we were going to shoot it because, first you're just writing it. When you're sitting and writing, I guess you imagine your own bed and your own floor and your own bathroom, and it's just a very different physical relationship. Okay, now when we get to the set, you're like, okay, this will be the best place for a bedroom, and now we have this long hallway. We shot a lot of stuff that didn't even make it in, but I shot every little moment of going from that, from falling down to getting ready.
Did you just do a standard shot list, or was it storyboard?
Shot list.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I can't draw, and we certainly had no budget.
Sure.
Would have loved to do storyboard.
Of course. But you were extensive in your shot list? I mean, you mentioned I wanted to capture it from every angle.
Yeah. I had far too many shots for my days. I was coming from TV, which is, this is indie filmmaking, and this was a $7 million movie, and
how many million?
So less than $1 million.
Whoa.
So
I think it's okay to mention that, if you don't mind, because it makes it that much more astonishing to what you achieved.
Thank you.
Truly.
Thank you.
No, it does not feel like I'm watching a movie with no money.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely was.
I mean, other than you're starring in it. That's certainly a red flag.
That was, yes. You should have
and I want to talk
put it together right there.
I want to talk to you about that decision as well.
Yeah.
So let's stay with the opening shot sequence.
Hey, there's the truth. If I had $5 million, I probably would have cast somebody.
But all right, if we're going to jump there, then I'm going to ask, what was that decision-making process like? You're writing the movie, right?
Okay,
You're writing,
so I'm writing it for any budget level, and I didn't think that I was actually going to play it.
Did you think you were going to direct
close
it?
To something I could. Yes.
Okay.
I knew I wanted
So you wrote
to
this
direct
for yourself to direct.
Yes.
And as you're writing it, you're open to, this could be a studio movie, this could be an indie film.
Right.
It's
I'm
not really
open to the whole
about that.
thing. Right.
Because if you look at the story, the only thing that would drive up the budget would be name actors.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. So after it was all together and I was done, I had some, I pursued kind of various avenues, and,
who do you trust to read it first, if you don't mind me asking?
My wife read it first.
And how many drafts do you do before you let her read it?
I finished the thing pretty well. I want everything in place because she's a good read.
So you rewrite until you believe it's ready.
Yeah.
Love that. And she's the first read.
She'll be the first, and then the agent manager. They weren't too interested.
They weren't too interested?
No. And then I had a friend at at an independent studio, and he was like, "This is a small movie." And here's why. And he was very smart about it and not wrong. This is a smaller movie.
It's a very small personal story.
Yeah.
Yeah. There aren't giant events that take place. There are amazing. It's an amazing journey filled with these amazing moments that you don't see coming, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And it goes in very unique, original
Thanks.
direction. I never want to give anything away because I really want to encourage people to see it with a fresh experience. Okay, so the agents are, I don't see any money in this for us, Paul,
Yeah.
but we've got this showrunning gig you may be interested in.
Exactly.
And that's the other thing. You do need to fit this in between a thriving a writing career. And
Nothing happened until I said out loud and to everybody, I'm not doing anything until I make this movie.
great.
And
That's an important lesson to share.
Yeah. And in hindsight, I was talking to myself
That's right.
because no one else seemed to care.
Did everyone say, yeah, that's great.
That's great. Yeah. And nothing changed with
the announcement?
except that that I only concentrated on this. And so then I was talking to Mark Duplass, who you might know.
I do. He's been on the show.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, let me break it down for you. If you get your $5 million, then investors are gonna want a huge say in who's in it, and you're gonna need the right names, and you're playing that game. Here's what happens at 800,000, and my favorite is 200,000. Then just do it. Just write your check. Just make your movie. And I tried very hard to make this script a $200,000, but that's for something like Creep that he does, where you get a couple people out and you can go to his own cabin, I just could not make this work for that.
No.
But I got as low as we possibly could.
Yeah, you did.
And then
And by doing that, did you succeed in containing and maintaining your control?
pretty much.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't fund it all myself.
Right. Good idea.
Yeah. But yeah. I did have to do some rewrites,
Sure.
for money. But
Based on input.
I had a big ending in the original.
Okay.
script. I had a big ending.
Interesting.
And
They said-
I think it might have made it stronger to change it, although who knows? That's one of the things we'll never know.
Yeah, which is an important part of the journey, which is you created this world and these characters, and in that creation was a big ending.
Yeah.
And then someone came along and said, maybe not.
Maybe that's a $200,000 ending
Yeah.
you just wrote.
Right. Do you, how badly do you need
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
I'm going through this now with my own thing. It's a tough one when you lived with something for a while.
Yeah.
Also, it was always meant to be that way.
Yeah.
And not to just be myopic, but we're all comfortable with the way our world was created and how it ends in this world of fiction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a conversation with Mark Duplass. Does that lead you to think in terms of I'll star in this? When was that?
That turned a switch that said, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to get this done however I can.
And so did it ever cross your mind to reach out to actor people to play this part? You certainly know enough
At
of them.
that point, no.
No.
Yeah, that's when I stopped.
After the conversation with Mark
Yeah.
Duplass. So those of you out
Part
there,
of me felt like, all right, I don't know. In terms of the people I know that would like make a big financial difference, that would really get me the
your pal Steve Carell's too busy, first of all.
Steve's not doing this.
Yeah.
And there's very few.
Yeah.
There's just very few. So I didn't know them personally. And then I was playing the agent game, and I just felt like I'm never going to get that.
But you did play the agent game for
No.
no.
I kept
Oh, you
this-
thought I'm going to have
I'm
to
going to
play.
have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because I'm doing that now, and it's a fucking nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the only way to change that nightmare is to get your financiers to agree to make pay or play offers, or at least make a deal. That's the only way to even get people to read stuff.
Yeah. Or you have your own Rolodex.
Sure.
You know.
Yes.
You've probably got a lot of
On the
people
la-
coming through this show.
On
you know,
the last
if you reach
film,
out. Yeah.
I haven't directed much, but yes, I did just pick up the phone and cast the movie.
Yeah. And people want to do it. Actors want to act.
If they're available,
Gatekeepers-
it's the gatekeepers
Yeah.
who say,
Gatekeepers.
you don't want to do this. For the same reason,
Motherfuckers.
your agents who read the script said,
said don't do
you don't want to do this. Yeah, but by the way, it's okay that they're ambitious and they have their own agendas and their own careers. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And we need to accept that.
Yeah.
And not damn them for their own singular myopic
You're
view.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they do for a living.
Yeah.
They make money.
Yeah. And yes, you're right. If I had an agent who was just like, okay, let's carve out a little artistic
You need to work a
career
lot
for
for
you.
no money.
Yeah. So you're not going to make anything. But I think you're really going to enjoy the
Right.
next 10 years.
And you
You
say,
might need a job.
yeah, and you say to that agent, I have a mortgage.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, yeah.
So one conversation with Mark Duplass,
Yeah.
and now I'm going to star in this thing, and I'm going to make it for under $1 million somehow. And then you have to still go out and find a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And that's not the easiest thing in the world for a recognizable but not bankable leading man. That's in you.
Yeah. So
Then it can only be the script.
I was helping out a couple of guys, some writer friends. I was in this writer's room at Disney, and someone has an office down the hall, Adam Pally. And he walks in, he's just saying hi, and he just says, I just did the best indie movie. And we're like, what made it so good? He's like, the gift bag. It was all edibles, pot, this, that, all this different stuff. And he's like, there's this company, and they have a couple of dispensaries, and they're making movies. And I said, may I meet them?
And they're making movies?
They're making movies. So, in the end, and it took me a while to realize these are two separate businesses they're in, and it's called Starstream, and their name's up there.
In your credits?
Yeah. But that
They're
was,
funding movies.
They're funding.
They're helping to fund.
Well, they're not just funding. They were a production company.
Oh, wow.
They're making a movie.
And that just happened from a random guy walking down a hall?
Yeah.
It's the best.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did it cross your mind to ask Andy to play the part?
Adam Pally?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. At that point, I was just, I saw myself in it.
Yeah. Once you grasp that,
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing.
He would have been great.
He would have been great. It's an interesting thing, the path of most resistance, which is the one you took to write, star, and direct, for more reasons than it's not bankable. The other reason is, I know you had directed on The Office and a few other television things. Am I correct? This is the maiden voyage in the feature film?
Yes. First
Okay.
feature.
So did you think I should maybe talk to some other actors who directed themselves? Because it is a strange thing. I've avoided it and continue to avoid it. Having talked directing myself.
That would have been a great thing to do.
To talk to other actors? But they might have talked you out of it.
A wonderful thing. Yeah.
They might have talked you out of it because the people I met with, names, Tom Hanks, and there's regret in all of their faces, which is never quite being present in a scene as an actor when I'm just thinking about the shot. Because there's something joyous about directing, especially something you've written.
Yeah.
Truly joyous. And I want to talk about that as well.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
You would be in a scene thinking what the scene looks like instead of what.
No, I wonder what it would have been like had I really been able to only direct.
Next time.
Next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is what I want next time.
Yeah.
I want to do one without that. I'm not.
Well, it's a tremendous calling card. And I wish I were representing you in your future as a filmmaker. So let's talk about. So you didn't talk to any actors. You just went gung ho. I'm going to star in this. I'm going to make it for a controllable budget, so that now I need a great line producer and a great organizer, so that I can tell this story and execute it without it looking horrible, which is usually what no money means.
Right.
I mean, under $1 million really is no money. And Mark can say 200,000 is my favorite number. And then people can look at some of his films that were made for 200,000 and say, it's a great story, you really executed it well. It looks fucking horrible.
Yeah. He didn't. Yeah, exactly. He's all about story and
that's right.
journey. Yeah,
and great character, which you have as well. But your film looks beautiful.
So I would credit one guy mostly for helping me achieve that.
Okay.
And his name's the DP, Bartosz Nalzak. So I was directing a commercial, a nationwide insurance commercial, and these things are funded quite well. And my DP was Janusz Kaminski.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Let's stop for a moment, folks, to allow you time to look up Janusz, because his credits are insane. A lot of Spielberg, a lot of everybody.
A lot of Academy Awards. So
and he's your cinematographer.
He's my I know. And he was great. Set up some great shots for that nationwide shot.
Shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd love it if you saw it. So one of his main camera operators for 10 years was Bartosz, and I got to know him. He was interested in doing this, and he hadn't really done many movies either. So we were both really learning on this. But he'd been on some great sets. He'd watched some brilliant people put a scene together.
That's right.
And he had a really good eye.
Yeah. Extraordinary eye.
Yeah.
And so would you how much time were you able to spend with him before you started shooting, in terms of going through scenes and talking about?
We did it. We went through the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when I said no storyboards, like no storyboard artist, but I would do stick figures and stuff.
Right.
And and we'd do our crappy drawings for each other that are almost indecipherable. But
sure.
Yeah, we went through it.
But you spent a goodly amount of time.
Yeah.
Because preparation, as it turns out, is everything.
Well, it can make the day doable or not.
Yeah. And you found a great line producer who could somehow help you make your day?
Yeah, well, we're definitely pushing the days.
Yeah, it takes extraordinary organization skills.
Yeah, it really did.
Which, as a writer, director, star, you deserve to have someone else looking after that.
Yeah.
And telling you what you can and cannot do. Yeah. And even if it's just to test your boundaries of when you'll push back.
No, there's no doubt, like, having a team around you that you can just rely on, so you don't have to think about any of that stuff.
Right.
It helps extraordinarily.
Yeah. And you had more than enough directing experience. But again, I'm going to keep coming back to, but not when you were the lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, okay, so the first time I directed myself was on The Office, and it was this group scene.
But it was a group scene.
It was a big group scene.
Yep.
And I had one line.
That's right.
And I missed it.
You had one line.
I was only thinking about directing the scene.
Yep. So you
they
thought,
just all stopped and they waited for me, broke out laughing.
And then you thought, you know what? I should probably direct a whole movie where I have most of the lines. That makes sense because I handled that one way.
Yeah. We had no playback several days.
While shooting
at least half the movie.
This film.
Yeah.
Even when shot on digital.
I watched it in a camera, but I couldn't hear.
Okay. Well, it makes
Which
you
is
feel
also great for comedy.
That's
you
right.
can usually tell while watching if something's funny.
Yeah. If it makes you feel any better, John Huston, the great director,
would
crouch down by the camera and sometimes close his eyes during takes.
Wow.
Yeah. And just listen. So you had the opposite of that. You could see but not hear.
Yeah.
Which is maybe the worst. really.
Yeah.
You could see if the shot was done correctly, but you should also be able to say to your now extraordinary DP and say, did we get it? And he would say to the camera operator, if that's not him, did we get it?
Right.
So yeah, that's strange to not have playback when you're...
Yeah, so there were some surprises when watching Daily, but
You have to trust your first AD to be your eyes and ears?
There was a producer there, Jennifer, who I would trust.
Yeah, because your version of Did We Get It and anyone else's version of Did We Get It is never going to be the same.
Never, yeah.
Nope. Yeah.
No.
And did you find yourself...
a lot of things just pushing on. Just that decision that we didn't get it, that like what I'm doing is kind of not good enough, is like the crucial decision in a scene to kind of either restage it or just like, I need to up
what you're doing.
Sometimes that's it. Up what you're doing.
Yeah. Give me 17% more, which ended up being my favorite direction, or 17% less. Because then the actor would laugh and I would walk away and they would figure it out.
There was I have this like book of notes that I made from the various great directors that came through the office before I started directing. And there was one guy, Julian Farino, and we were doing this scene and I was talking about, God, I don't know why it's not working. There's something going on. And we talked for a bit and he's like, let me just talk to Steve. And he went out to the hall, they had a little conversation and came back. And then it was so funny and great. And I asked him what he said. And he said, can you just do, and he just raised his hands a little to Steve.
Like, give me 17% more.
Just
goose it.
And he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
He knew.
Well, that's just it. It's only important that you know what you want as the filmmaker, or you know what you want in television as the showrunner, which is a writer's medium.
Yeah.
And then you have a director who can explain that to the actor. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Otherwise...
And get it. Some directors can bring a lot.
Yeah, right. So did you enjoy having all the responsibility that comes with the director and all the responsibility as a first-time male lead in a film? Did you enjoy both of them, or depends on the day?
No, it was hard. It depends on the day.
Yeah.
And
how many times did you think, what was I thinking?
In editing. For 6 months, every day in editing, what was I thinking?
Because you didn't give yourself enough choices?
Yeah, because somehow I thought that was going to be okay. Yeah, I was like, God, why didn't I just do more? Why?
Well, yeah. The editing is the final rewrite, of course.
Yeah.
And if you don't have enough material to rewrite.
Well, that was the one thing that was a hard thing to swallow. Moving to a movie was having less material.
Yeah.
Same amount of hours in TV, you're just going to shoot more. Plus, we had one camera, so it was just...
You'll give yourself...
Automatically, there would have been double the footage.
You're going to give yourself 2 next time?
2 cameras?
Yeah.
I would love to do 2 cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really need to have 2 cameras.
Yeah.
Wasn't The Office 2 cameras always?
Oh, yeah, we were always 2
Cross-shooting a lot?
Cross-shot everything.
Yeah. Which is such a joy. And there's not a cinematographer on the planet who agrees.
Yes, they hate it so much.
It's an eyeline problem. I found. If you really ask them what the fuck is your problem, they all say,
"Oh, I thought it was a composition problem."
Yeah, well, certainly
they want the lighting to.
Yeah, you don't want to. You have to light a master.
Somehow they can set the lighting in a cross shoot in 15 minutes. Yeah, if it's just one angle,
it takes 3 hours. Yeah, because a cross shoot means I'm lighting a master.
Yeah,
I'm lighting more space than I want to. And that doesn't make them happy.
No.
But you knew so much of that from running The Office.
Yeah, I got really cocky running the audience in terms of my ability as a director.
Mm-hmm.
Because, okay, we were mockumentary. We were, we had a very specific look and very specific rules. And by the end of 9 seasons and so many things, and not just the dozen or so that I directed, but I don't know exactly what, but of all the editing and oversight that I was doing. I really felt like I have got to be one of the top 5 directors of mockumentary in the world.
Yeah.
I just know every trick inside and out. I've been living, I breathe it. Then I got to
Well, that may be
shows.
true, by the way. Certainly the top 7. But it's such a
I got to other
specific...
shows and I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know the language. What's a dance floor? I have to pick the lens, you know. I was really out of my element. And,
oh my God,
there was so much learning to do.
I don't even know what a dance floor. That's fantastic. A staging area, I think, is what he's talking about. Those of you listening,
yeah. You put this very even floor over an area so the camera can kind of roll everywhere.
Wow. Well, that's an important thing to share, if I may. Is mastering a very specific thing. And I keep coming back to this because I really do find, I don't know, I guess I want to emphasize of all the achievements that you've pulled off in this film, again, congratulations.
Thank you again.
It's one thing to be the writer and then the director. That's almost a really super easy transition because you're just a writer keeping control on your words. And you've got the vision of what it is. You know, the script that I'm allegedly directing in January of mine, the very first time I gave it to a lit agent to read, I wasn't thinking I was going to direct it. I wasn't thinking it at all, until that lit agent said, "So you're directing this, right?" And I said, "Well, I hadn't thought of that." And he said, "What do you mean you hadn't thought of that? It's all in the stage direction." And I said, "Well, I just wrote some of those things so no director could fuck this up." Yeah.
No, you were really smart to do that. And I did not do that. I had been like trained for so long, don't direct on the page.
Right.
And so I really did have to put that other hat on because all that little like connective tissue and angles and whatever.
Yeah, but you knew what the writer wanted. That's the
I
thing.
knew what the writer wanted, but I had to then like go back and put it all in or communicate it somehow.
Right. And that protective element of what the scene always was supposed to be as the writer.
Yeah.
Then you've got this actor coming in who you don't even have to talk to.
Yeah. There were no long conversations where I wouldn't come out of my trailer.
Yeah, someone else. I don't think you had a trailer.
No, I did not.
So this woman you mentioned, and maybe the DP, and people would weigh in on giving you notes as an actor. Right? Yeah,
and or like working with Rosemary DeWitt, doing these long scenes, and we would talk about it. We would talk. I mean, she wasn't giving me notes, but we would talk about like, what are we trying to say? And
right.
That was super helpful.
Right. How much time were you? She's the female lead in the film. Yeah. How much time were you able to spend with her in regards to prep?
It was all on set.
Sure.
We only did it on set.
That's it.
Yeah.
Your guys' chemistry is instant, which is really important to the story. Because if it wasn't, there's a leap of faith that needs to happen for the audience. And because I remember thinking, this is happening quickly, and do I buy it? Because just being overly critical about everything.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong there. And there was more.
Yeah.
And it can happen slower. There's a version where it's slower.
Right.
But it's not better. It's slower.
Did you show a slower version to
people? Oh, yeah.
And they said it doesn't have to be slower. Because you want the audience to never have an issue with this leap of faith.
Yeah.
And the best way to protect that, certainly if you shot more scenes of two people getting to know each other and in fact wanting to do something about it, is to give it time. Yeah. I did a little trick thing in mine where I needed to create a passage of time simply so that I wouldn't have to have all this exposition and shoot all these fucking scenes of these two people getting together.
So what did you do?
I had this fun transition from two people meeting to a close-up of one of theirs, as I'll shoot it, hopefully in January. A close-up of one of their nose, covered with sheets in bed, and a hand comes in and plugs the nose from breathing, and that person wakes up, and we see it's the person from the previous scene who met this woman, and now we see them together, and she's leaving, and he's saying, "Where are you going?" And she's, "I'm done with this for the day. You know you never gave me your number, right?" And now we still think it's the next morning. And then he says, but as she's giving him reasons why he doesn't have the number.
Right.
And he's saying, "What are you talking about? It's been 6 months we're at this. And you're not going to give me the number ever?" So in that one little tiny line, either the audience is going to go, "Wait, what?" or they're going to just keep going with the story because this is how two people talk to each other. And I worked on many versions of, I don't have time. I don't have a page count for these two fucking people to end up in bed together. And I also don't want it to be a one-night stand.
Right.
Because I don't care about this guy.
Is that a thing? So my mind quickly goes to, she's hiding something, but it's just a way to be distant. She's just like holding herself back.
Interestingly enough, it's a way to show her strength. She's using men, and this is one of the ways we know that. Because she actually says to him, "Here's how it works. I give you my number. You call when you're in the mood. If I'm not in said mood, there's a problem. So by not giving you my number, we'll get together when we both want to." And I like her for that. So it's part of that too. Okay. Yeah. It's all exposition, and how do we hide it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's been, to me, the greatest joy as a writer is I need the audience to understand what the fuck's happening, but I don't want to tell them.
Right.
But,
Yeah. And then to find a way to do that's just
it's
really
a puzzle.
Entertaining.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So let's get to shooting. So you've got a musical element in the movie, in the story, that is wholly original and exciting at the same time because of how original it is. Where the hell did that come from?
I honestly can't trace it.
Oh, great.
I've
even better.
I've really
That means it came from your imagination.
Yeah, I guess so. But I don't know what the spark was or anything.
So do you remember a moment when you were writing when that ended up on the page and you went, whoa, what's this?
I don't remember it.
Great. It just came out of you while you were writing.
Yeah.
And is your process as a writer such that on a first draft you just let yourself go, knowing it's going to be rewritten within an inch of its life? He said, knowing that's his own process.
I have both processes, I guess. I try different things. For this, I did an outline.
Sure.
But I let it go other places.
Right. Well, was the
but
interesting
I'm writing something now where I have no idea
where it's going
at all.
Oh man,
I'm on page 130.
First of all,
I'm nowhere near the end. So we'll see.
Can't wait to see the miniseries.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course there's an outline. I simply meant that for you to create a wholly original aspect of the film, and for me to ask, where'd that come from? And for you to say, I don't remember. The answer is, it just came out one day while I was writing.
Yeah.
And so would that have been in the outline 3x5 cards if that's in fact what happens? Or do you remember that moment just coming out while you were
what I do is
typing away?
They're not true outlines. I do like this outline draft, or maybe I should call it like
bullet point?
A lazy draft.
Sure.
Where if I'm stuck on something, I'll just describe it and then move on.
Great.
And then other scenes are fully formed.
Sure.
So
that's the lazy first draft.
That's my lazy first draft.
Right.
Don't get stuck.
There's no outline before that one?
No.
So that still suggests that you just start writing.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
And I have written pilots by just starting writing.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
No one wants to make them.
No one wants to make them?
No, that's one might be made. So,
yeah.
So far, they haven't been how I've moved projects forward.
Right.
Yeah.
And you think you can trace it back to that decision to start an outline that way?
Well, here's the thing. like we were talking about earlier, you've got your creative ideas and you've got money and a business.
That's right.
And I think when you just step back and do the whole thing together, you might come up with something different than if you just start writing.
Right.
You might say, no. This idea.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't bother with this one.
Yes. Okay. So it's one thing to find someone to put in the rest of the money. It's another thing to maintain a certain amount of freedom to execute your vision. It's another thing to have done all that and enter into the editing process, which you say you had 6 months, which is an extraordinary luxury. Not true.
No.
Okay.
I did not work with an editor for 6 months. We had, I think, 11 weeks.
Yeah.
But it wasn't all consecutive. And there was 6 months. It was 11 weeks over 6 months, I think.
Okay.
That would be insane. That would be more than the budget of the movie.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I would love it.
But even 11 weeks is a lot for this
and
size
a giant movie gets
budget.
that, right?
Right,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
The first thing I directed was a documentary. It was just Talking Heads, really, documentary. And I edited it for 10 months because there was no script and there was no outline. It was just 60 annoyingly funny, famous people saying things. And I had to figure out, what is this?
Did you have an editor? Or did you actually edit it yourself?
I edited it myself and then brought in an editor for some help.
Yeah.
But the point was I would still be cutting it today if not for the Sundance Film Festival deadline of 2015.
Deadline's up.
Yeah, I'd still be cutting today because there was no correct way to do it. And then I found, well, that's true of anything. There's no correct way to write any scene. There's no correct way to edit, direct. They're just the way you choose. And it's just like life. There's no correct way to do any of this. It's just the way we choose.
Yeah.
Sorry to put that on you. But you are making more choices about how you're going to live your life than you think.
You think they're choices?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I do.
I think there's a little more believing that we have choices than we actually do.
Okay.
Yeah.
It depends on your ability to go with the flow. Right? So
I can really go with the flow.
Yeah.
But is that me making a choice?
Well, it is. It is. Yeah, because haven't we both worked with people?
You're probably right. We have worked with people who can absolutely
not go with the flow.
Yes,
is what I mean.
Determine how things are going to go.
Yeah. Or just say, yeah, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Just that ability to make that choice, I think, leads to a lot less back pain.
Yeah.
A lot less stress-related ailments.
Or they can do it without. I've seen people do it without, being combative at all.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, there's a very beautiful non-combative way of saying this doesn't work for me. One of the greatest advices I ever got from the ex-wife early on when I started acting was, you just need to know something about acting in movies. Production will fuck you at every turn, every chance they get, because your needs are not being considered. So if something doesn't feel right or rubs you the wrong way, you're not complaining. You're standing up for what would be better for you. We need you to come in 3 days early because of this. No, you don't.
Yeah.
So those are choices.
Those are definitely choices that people. Yeah.
So I'm curious about how you get a theatrical release for a movie that costs nothing, as beautiful as it turned out, starring, if I may, non-bankable, marketable. That's the word. Excuse me. Marketable. So when you decide I'm going to keep control of this film by not having to have too big of a budget and restraints that come from that, you've also given yourself up to the vulnerability of, will anyone see this?
Yeah. And when I started doing this, the market was different. There's so many. I think that 5 years ago, if you came out with a movie that basically was pretty good, it doesn't have to be great, but if it was pretty good, there was probably a release there, and you know, $1.5 million to make. And if you could keep it under the budget under that, you'd be okay.
But distribution was still always the beast.
Yeah.
There you got to a point where it was never easier to make one of those movies and never harder to get distribution. So allegedly, getting distribution is supposed to be easier now, but only because of video on demand.
Right.
And Netflix is certainly spending an awful lot of money saving the independent film world, but they don't seem to really give a shit about marketing those movies.
Now, well,
They just consume them.
also they've largely dropped out of the acquisition business.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it a little bit.
Right.
Same with Amazon. And it's really recent. They're trying to make everything themselves now.
Right. That is very recent because the comedy I directed that was made also for nothing put the whole thing in profit when Netflix said, we'll take that.
Yeah.
And then they did virtually nothing to let people know that it existed.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, that's good for the financiers.
And so that was as little as 2 years ago.
Right. That's what it
What it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you and your distribution friends come to pass?
That's not something I really even know that much about. I mean, at CAA, they were repping the film. We premiered at Tribeca, and I think they did a good job of getting people to come. And then we got an offer from a company called The Orchard, who's putting out a lot of
Is that a peach
little.
in their emblem, or is that an orange? What is that?
You
should know.
I think it should be a peach.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Call it a peach, and then I'm sure I'm going to.
Does it have anything to do with the state of Georgia?
I should know, right? I should have had this conversation with them.
I'm kidding.
What are you putting in front of my movie?
Yeah, exactly. So you got an offer, and it made sense, and you went forward, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
But there was a big, giant agency in your corner, basically selling and repping this.
So if I was guy with no agent who made the same movie,
the same agents who said, we don't really think you should do this, saw the film and said, well, look at this. Here's some money to be made.
Well, the CA is huge, and they have their different arms.
Oh, yeah.
So they got a little arm. They have a little arm that's...
And the people who work in that independent arm are also in the business of making money.
Yeah.
They're not in the business of making friends. They're not. So they want you and your project to see the light of day, but not just for your happiness.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And there's also a world where you could imagine that they would be doing it just for the relationship to the client who makes money in other places.
Oh, that may be.
I don't think it is.
That may be a bottom line in someone's mind.
Yeah, but I don't think that's synergy.
But they all have people to answer to.
Yeah.
And those people say, how did it do? What did you do on that? And they say, I made my client happy. Did you?
They still left.
Do you want to still work here? We're not in the business of making clients happy. Do you need to have that speech again? Yeah. It took me forever to realize this, by the way. You left there, you said?
Yeah. Just went to ICU.
Yeah. Okay, good.
So
thank you for sharing that.
I don't know.
I think you'll be fine.
You're right, but
I think you have a calling card.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Have you landed already someplace? You must have landed already someplace else. No one's waiting. Yeah. That's how it happens. That's how it works. So the film comes out in theaters. Do we know how many cities? Why do I keep asking these annoying questions? I'm trying to help.
Do.
You believe that, don't you?
I do. We're in 2 cities.
Fantastic. Are they New York and LA?
They are.
Okay, great.
Good.
Well, those are the places that write the most reviews.
They sure are.
That's not true anymore, actually. It turns out, because of the internet, everyone gets to write a review.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, buddy.
Looking forward to that.
It is amazing. Who did the music? Who would you like to give credit to? Because the music, again, is a character in the film.
Yeah, thanks. Antonio Andrade.
That's right.
He was...
He's not sure how to say your name either.
Yeah. He was terrific. He was...
How did you, that's the person
Is this another person who were kind of giving a first shot to.
Great.
He's done a lot of competition, but he's worked for another composer. So I think this is one of his first, if maybe his first feature. And he was
shockingly good.
So game to try again.
Right.
We have some really unique challenges in this movie. And he was terrific.
Also, not wanting to give anything away, but there is a surreal aspect
Yeah.
to the story that the music either helps deliver or it doesn't really get delivered. So there was a responsibility on this person.
Yeah. And I knew that. I knew this.
How was your back through those days?
It's all pain is gone. But I knew that it was very easy in script stage to just describe what I wanted.
Sure.
You know, but I was throwing a lot to a composer.
Right. Yeah. And this composer worked well with others, and the collaboration
was great.
Easy.
He's
well, that
I think he'll be huge.
And do you think you realize, without me having to point it out, how fortunate that was?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were able to appreciate that was
it
kind of
was
lightning
really,
in a bottle.
Yeah, he got it.
Yeah.
He really got it.
It's exciting. It's exciting as hell. Do you want to speak any more about the astonishing discovery of how to remove pain from your back area?
All you have to do is believe that the pain isn't real and it's there to distract you from thinking about something else.
Uh-huh.
Which is sounds like such crazy bullshit.
But
I fully believe it.
Well, because it worked also for you. So is finding, reliving, embracing, accepting, discovering what the real issue is paramount to the process?
I think it is.
Ultimately.
I guess he would say it is.
Ultimately.
And the pain doesn't really go away. So when I am feeling pain now, and it will happen, then I'll start to go through everything in my life that it could possibly be.
Uh-huh.
And I might go through 10 topics before, that's it. And the pain's gone. Mm-hmm. And it's really instant. It's really one-to-one like that.
So I had an interesting moment where pain was born. I was sitting on a very hard surface.
Okay.
And I sneezed. And the way I sneeze, as my better half is
from your butt,
apt to mock, is to take in a lot of air.
Okay.
Like the classic. What this causes is a very loud, big, full-bodied sneeze. Not a.
Yeah.
It is full of air.
Yeah.
And it was so big that sitting on this very hard surface, my body, I felt it sort of compress with the release of this air in a downward motion.
The force of it,
The force of it
drove you into the ground.
Yeah, on this very hard surface. I keep saying that instead of the toilet, which is what it was. And there was not a pop, but a recognition of the birth of pain. The same way that
where'd you feel it?
I felt it in the lower left side, and I wasn't sure if it was
buttock
or hip or what.
Right.
But it was, oh no, and instantly, oh no.
Could you get up?
I could, but I felt the same way if one stubbed their toe in a physical way.
Right.
I felt a real, authentic area of injury. And so I thought, well, I'll walk it off. That went not great. It is a 2-story home. There were some stairs to get down. And they were interesting in terms of ease and comfort. And fortunately, at my weekly poker game, there's a masseuse. And one of those forward-facing chairs, right? And they stand behind you.
It's a good game.
It is a very good game. It's catered. You'd enjoy it. And I mentioned to her of this experience, and she said, let me work on it. And she did. And there were areas that she would be forceful with that I could, oh, no, yeah. And she said, yeah, you clinched real good when I touched that. So I think it's more hip related. That's good news.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with your spine, which is always a concern. There are vertebrae and what have you.
When was this?
This was maybe 5 weeks ago.
Okay.
And just from her working on it, I was able to get up and walk away and say to her, well, about 90% of the pain is gone. And I'll be interested to know how I feel when I drive next, when you sit for a while in your car, or sitting, period.
Right.
Yeah. And then I found sleeping, any movement to be a reminder of stiffness of that area. Careful.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I do not think that all back pain is the result of this psychological stuff. And I do think there's a lot of, there's obviously a lot of other causes and very serious stuff and infections and pancreatic cancer and stuff to be checked out. But what you're describing really does feel like the book.
Feel like,
The book. Like it feels psychological.
wow.
One of the giveaways is the 5 weeks.
I don't suffer from it now.
Oh, you're all
No. I should finish your story. So it went away.
Okay.
It went away. And because she put this thought in my head, I think it's muscle pull. I think you pulled a muscle in that area. There's a lot of muscles around that area. Tiny, tiny, tiny.
Okay.
And based on the physical thing that caused the origin story, I think you just pulled something. And I think it's going to take time to heal. And, you know, it'll just get easier. And it did. And it was. And it's over.
Yeah. Well,
I have had those moments where, as your character suffers without giving anything away, that were debilitating. And this was 10 or more years ago, before anyone was talking, to my knowledge,
right.
about, yeah, that's all in your head. And I think to your average bear, the notion that the kind of back pain that stops you from physically moving couldn't possibly be controlled by your thoughts and your emotions. And I think this Sarno book, Dr. Sarno, his full name, Steve? John. Steve Sarno's got a better ring. Changed a lot of people's lives.
For sure.
And that was your own experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
And I remember when this first happened to me, something deep, I went to Twitter. Hey, this happened. Can't walk. What's going on? And people weighed in.
Okay.
And one of them was a hero of mine, Albert Brooks, who tweeted at me saying, Howard Stern gave me this Dr. Sarno book, and it changed my life. You need to read this. I didn't. Even though it came from high atop,
Right,
in my
right.
opinion, from Albert
Brooks.
Brooks. Yeah, exactly. You should pretty much do
book
whatever
recommendation.
yeah.
he
he says you should do. But I've become more and more fascinated by the process of what walk it off really meant when high school coaches said that was it's all in your head, kid. And I don't know that many of them even knew it. They were believing if you walk it off, if you try to walk it off and you can physically walk because I'm telling you to tough the fuck up,
Right.
then you're kind of proving the theory that you can overcome this physical pain. You just need to, and in those cases,
Right.
it was the fear of a coach being angry
Right.
that motivated, I need to not be a wussy in front of the coach.
Yeah.
But maybe it was just authority figures' affirmation that you were subconsciously seeking when you tried to so-called man up and,
Right.
and walk it off.
All right. Yeah. So what would they tell you to walk off? Not a pulled muscle, right?
You
Fear that, of going back out.
right.
Like the pain. If you just,
Get back on the horse.
yeah.
And
someone would that'd be tackled. They'd get a lot of pain. They wouldn't want to get back out there.
Got the wind knocked out of you, which is a temporary setback, having nothing to do with how you'll play the game the rest of your life. Walk it off.
Walk it off.
Yeah.
It's just a little.
It's not a hip pointer.
Right.
I remember that injury. It's the first thing I heard in high school. A hip pointer. Guy was in a cast all the way up to his hip.
Yikes.
Yeah, someone took that seriously. And all they needed to do was read a book that said, walk it off. Yeah. I'm excited for you and the movie.
I would go crazy in a cast after my hit. It would be like being buried alive.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could survive it.
Right. Yeah. I'm not sure I could survive it. You could if there was a book that said walk it off.
Walk it off, but not if I'm in a full body cast. I can't walk it off.
Any teachers or mentors along the way that you'd like to give some credit to?
Oh, wow. What a thing to ask.
I think it's important.
Yeah. I had a couple of great teachers, but they're dead. Well, my writing, I had directors, like I was saying, there was a bunch of directors in the office who let me ask them lots of questions and really let me be part of their process. J.J. Abrams was so nice while he was directing one of my episodes of The Office.
So nice in the sense of including you.
Including me and there was one thing I learned from him which seems like the simplest little thing, but I scripted a character up against the wall because that's how you at a party, alone with a beer, and that's how I saw it because that's how you are when you don't want to talk to anyone. You feel like you're on the outside there. And he put him in the center of the room, and I was like, that's just not. Yeah. Because he wanted depth to the shot very naturally as a director who cares. And everyone's telling me, Paul, shut up. It's JJ. Let him direct. But I just kept, and he was like, no, you have a problem with this. So let's keep, and he just walked around the room, kept walking around until he found a way to put him up against kind of a doorway that had tons of depth behind it. And he got a great shot, but he also got him against a backing, and he got everything. Yeah. He figured it out. He figured it out. Right. And from that, I was just like, okay, there's going to be a solution. I don't have to compromise the shot. There's going to be a solution to the shot. Right. Where I can have everything. And do you feel there were moments when you were directing? Well, I definitely would think about that for sure. I felt I love puzzles. I love problem solving as a person. So when I got to directing, I felt those were good things to like that would serve me. Yeah. Because there's always, in every day's work, problems and puzzles that need to be solved. Even if it's as simple as the wardrobe person saying, do you want yellow or green? And I've talked to a lot of directors on this show, filmmakers, about that process of having department heads and how much trust do you give to each one and how controlling do you need to be in every department. And it's up to the individual, and there's no correct way. It seems like mostly it's important to show leadership. Yeah. So rather than saying to the wardrobe person, I don't know, what do you think? You say, I like the between the red and the green, I like the green. Can you talk me out of it? Or a version of that. So you're including them. You've hired them to be in charge of this department. Yeah. They definitely know more than you. But if you see something from having written it and now directing it. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. How are you on those I tend to go back to what I'm trying to achieve in the scene. Yeah. And I don't answer their red and green question. I'm like, I need him, to be so angry that he walks away from me. Mm-hmm. And this is how I'm trying to build up that anger. So what do you think for color? There you go. Yeah. That's perfect. I don't know. That is a correct answer, by the way. All right. Speaking of correct answers, we've come to the portion of the show that's called Ask Kevin. You're allowed to ask me one question. It can be silly, sincere, neither. Wow. One question. One question. Okay. What? Okay, if I ask this question, you're like, everybody asks me this question, just say that.
Okay.
And then I'll ask a different question.
Okay.
All right, why do you do this?
Very few people ask that.
Okay.
So I was always fascinated by people's journeys and read autobiographies as a youngster. And I was more fascinated by that than fiction or learning anything in school. I was fascinated by people's journeys. I don't know why. I found each one of them unique and extraordinary and so unlike every other one. And having done talk shows for 20 plus years, 10 years ago, I found that the pre-interview that exists in most talk shows, I did one today for the Today Show that thankfully the cast of Maisel gets to do soon. You're auditioning anecdotes.
Yeah.
And they usually end with, so then the family finishes the ski trip, and then the person you're interviewing with says, what else you got? And they're fucking horrible.
It's horrible.
Yeah. And you got 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And I understand there's a beast being served, and the host needs to move things along, and they've only got 6 minutes with you, and we need to get to this and that. And also, by the way, I need to entertain the audience because I'm trying to maintain some numbers. And then when I did Charlie Rose, when he was way less handsy to my knowledge, it seemed like I was talking to a journalist who did his homework, and there was no pre-interview.
Right.
And we had a conversation for 40 minutes, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Bob Costas, too, felt like that. And so one day I was walking around a friend's place where there was a studio, and I said, what's this? And he said, one of the workers here does a best of YouTube show here, so we built a little studio. I said, without thinking these words ever before, I think I want to do a Charlie Rose, but fun. And now I would say Charlie Rose less handsy.
Yeah.
But this was 10 years ago. And I never thought those words before.
Oh, that's so cool.
Just the moment happened.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for me, he said, how soon can you start? And then that's 380 shows ago and 10 years in March. But it is just pure fascination with how did you get from there to here? I really am curious. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And I really appreciate your spending time with us and sharing as much as I could get out of you.
Yeah, was I holding back?
All right, the last portion of the show is called Kevin's Pop Quiz, between 5 and 15 points possible for each of the 3 questions. Once the final score is tabulated, it'll be posted on our website along the current standing among the top 100. Are you ready?
I am.
Question number 1, Keith David or David Keith?
Whoa. Keith David.
That's correct. Question 2, Carl Weathers or the weather in Carlsbad?
The weather in Carlsbad.
Also true. Last question, Steve?
No.
It's a perfect score. It's a perfect score. Oh, man. Sammy, the greatest engineer ever, recorded the whole thing on video on his phone. And as he was doing it, my instant thought was, we need to have video of what Sam does when the guest gets 3 for 3. Because that really was a celebration that's not seen often in human history. Joy. It was pure joy. Yeah. If only he had never done it before. Now, and I've ruined the moment. Again, thank you so much for taking time out.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, please. I've been a fan for a while. It's interesting because you played a character on that show, and that was my knowledge of you, and it took a while to learn, oh, my God, he started as a writer, and for the most part is a writer and a showrunner. And you were synonymous with the name Toby, and it was all I would ever think when I saw you, and I remember seeing you at a function here and there, and and when I was told about you having done this film and would I be interested in chatting, it was because of the reality that you were able to bring to this character, Toby, that piqued my curiosity. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
All these years later. And then giving anyone who is a fan of that part of your talent an opportunity to see it in a whole new world in the film that you wrote and directed, Song of Back and Neck. Forgive me for keep looking down, but I don't want to get it wrong. Song of Back and Neck. And there's something in those words, a few things, that will become more clear when you see the film. And you must. Song of Back and Neck has its theatrical release at the end of the month. I want to say the 28th, maybe? Does that sound right?
The 30th.
That's right.
November 30th, yeah.
Thank goodness. And then theatrical release is the 30th, followed by a digital release, video on demand, launch December 4th.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sit there uncomfortably while I wrap things up for the folks at home.
Awesome.
Thanks to Sammy. I always say Sam, engineer to the stars, and I rarely say your last name, which I'm going to say is Kiefer. He gave me the universal sign from Spain, which is thumbs up. Sam Kiefer, the engineer to the stars, thank you for your work and making this all possible and also celebrating when the guest gets it right. It really is amazing. 3 out of 3, you're automatically in the top 100. Thanks to Corey Levin in post. And Hannah, let's give Hannah, the wonderful booking agent working at Earwolf that's making my life so much easier. We love Hannah. And everyone else here at Earwolf making this all possible. Until next, and please continue writing to us at fan mail at KPCS. No, that's not right. I knew you. Fan mail at KPCS. That's not right. Yep, kpcsfanmail@gmail.com. KPCS, as in Kevin Pollak's chat show. kpcsfanmail@gmail.com. I'll read more of your letters next time. Until next time, and as always, get out of my face.